everybody, and welcome to the Alex Cuesta Daily Show. It is Tuesday, February 15th, 2022, and I hope everyone out there is doing well. I know I am, and I'm ready to get going. I actually have a lot to get through on this episode. I have way too many things that I want to share with you and way too little time to actually do it. So we're going to move right along. Before we get into anything, though, remember, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes, and spread this word of mouth. Tell everyone you know that this is the greatest show of all time. And if you don't feel that way, just say it. Just do it. Do it. Anyway, we're going to go quickly. Like I said, lots of things to do, so little time. We're going to start off with the Biden COVID tracker. In the name of time, I'm not going to talk about tomorrow's numbers. I'm just going to start doing the daily numbers because if you're a regular listener, you'll be able to see the numbers. And if you hear it and you're interested on looking back, you have more than the ability to do that research on your own. If you need help doing any research, finding out cases numbers, death numbers, because the CDC website's annoying, ask me, send me a message. I'll help out. So today again is February 15th. As of today, we stand at 77 million cases, 77,887,240 cases. That is 235,043 more from yesterday. And in terms of deaths, we're at 921,765, an uptick of 3,314. Now, if anyone's been listening lately, I actually have been fairly positive on the numbers that they seem to have been trending a little bit lower. Today is an uptick. Today is another uptick. Deaths are up a good amount. They're up about 1,000 more than they were from yesterday-ish. Well, yeah, not 1,000. Like, I guess what I'm trying to say, it was plus 2,000 and change yesterday, plus 3,000. So yeah, 1,000 more added on ish. I don't know how I'm saying that, but you get it. You understand what I'm saying. But we're higher there. We're higher in cases. I just want to see this trend go down. I'm tired of seeing the trend going up. It's annoying at this point. Again, not doing this for any other reason besides we need to hold Joe Biden to account. He is the one that came in and campaigned on, I got to do this. We're going to do this. I have a plan. Donald Trump does it. He's let it run wild. Anyone that's overseen as much death as him is irresponsible and needs to be out. And now look at all the death in cases he's overseen. He needs to be held accountable. Another thing that needs to be held accountable here is ID.me. It's a dead horse that I keep beating, but developments keep on happening. So I'm going to keep on talking to them about you. A few senators, United States federal senators, have urged ditching ID.me facing recognition for jobless benefits. This is in Reuters, and it's written by Paresh Dave. The senators are Ron Wyden, Sherrod Brown, and Elizabeth Warren, all Democrats, wrote a letter to the Department of Labor to assist states that are using ID.me to drop it because of the privacy concerns. We've covered all the privacy concerns. I've been talking about the fact that we need to get this out of statewide. I don't like the Fed overstepping, but I am applauding them for bringing light to this. And states do need to get it out. It needs to be gone. Again, I'm not a big fan of the Fed. I'm not a big fan of the centralized power coming into the states and telling them what they have to do. But if they could put their heads together and find a viable alternative, I guess it's weird. It's weird because I'm sitting here as a conservative going, we want the government to stop a private third-party company working for the government, stopping them from doing their job. But ID.me just seems evil. And when the guy states he wants to make a digital passport, he can go fuck off. So he kind of screwed himself for me. Again, I applaud them for bringing light to this. I don't like the federal government needs to come down on, I guess it's now 30 states that use ID.me. I don't like that side, but I do like that they're shining a light on it. So bravo to them for that. I don't necessarily want the Fed coming down in the states and quote unquote helping states find alternatives to identify to identity verification provider ID.me. States need to stop getting help from the Fed, but states also need to stop using this. So it's a happy medium. I don't want the Fed involved, but I do want them to stop using it. But again, bravo to those 3 senators. Keep you updated on ID.me the minute more information comes out about it. This article was written 4 hours ago, so it's fairly fresh. So let's continue here. I have a bunch of articles that I really think I would like for you guys to at least go check out. They're not ones that I'm going to do tonight and really cover, but I do think that they're important. So I would like to kind of point them out to you guys like I do when I have articles. I was really torn about which article to use tonight because I think they're all pretty important. The first one, absolutely fucking insane. Absolutely insane. It was actually written, I think it was the 1st of February. So now 14 days ago. Yeah, it's a long time ago. There's been updates on this since on different websites. Credit to Chris Cillizza, Jennifer Smith from the Daily Mail for reporting on it. The title, Moment Highly Erratic ex-UCLA philosophy lecturer, 31-year-old, is arrested by Colorado SWAT team for threatening to commit mass shooting. Cops found an alarmingly violent 800-page manifesto. Yeah, guys, it's as crazy as it sounds. So Matthew Harris is the guy that was arrested. He was a postdoctorate lecturer at UCLA. He also worked at Duke and Cornell. This guy has made the rounds. He is a black man, and I have read part of the manifesto. I do not recommend anybody putting this on their device. FBI, please don't come after me. I just wanted to see if it was as crazy as it sounded, and it is. It is as crazy as it sounded. Not only is it utterly insane talking about mass killings and this, it drops the N-bomb. I think, I heard about it from my brother, David. He was listening to You Are Here with Elijah Schaefer and Sydney Watson on The Blaze. Great show. Go check it out. But he was listening to it, and he's the one, I guess they said you dropped the N-bomb something like 13,000 times in 800 pages or 10,000 times. And if you read it, it's true. It is, you can just scroll anywhere and just find insanity written. It's very woke. If you read it, it reads woke. So this guy was 100% a supporter of the woke movement. So, and no one's really covering that. I've read a bunch of this. No one's covering the fact that the guy is a severe leftist writing this, but he even structures it very similar to the way Mein Kampf is structured. And I don't know if anyone's had to ever read it academically. I have read Mein Kampf. I was a history major over at Marist College. I had a focus on Nazism, so I read it in the academic sense. Please, no one link me that I'm reading this manifesto plus Mein Kampf. But it is very structured, very similar. Now, the content in it has some parallels in terms of what the mass suicide, things like that. And as jumbled as it is, this guy's crazier than Hitler. Hitler was insane, but Hitler was fairly coherent. He was a very good orator. This guy was out of his mind. He also, on the Sunday that before he was arrested, posted 300 threatening videos on YouTube talking about killing people, mass shooting, UCLA staff. And he emailed the manifesto to his staff members, plus I think students too. This guy's fucking crazy. He needs to be behind bars forever, Matthew Harris. Like I said, you can find it if you dig hard enough. I'm not going to give the name here. I don't want to read any of it. I don't want to give this guy any credence, but God, he was out of his fucking mind. Out of his mind, crazy. And yeah, no, he was absolutely nuts. The videos, I haven't seen any of the videos. They took them all down. So there's only some screenshots. So you weren't going to be able to actually watch those videos. But again, it's something to read. And just remember, I've glanced through it. They won't tell you to the media. They'll talk about how crazy it is. They'll talk about what he this and that and that and that. The guy was on the left. The guy's a leftist. He's been influenced. If this was somebody that wrote a crazy white supremacist thing, every single article to high heaven would be including influenced by Donald Trump, influenced by Donald Trump, influenced by Donald Trump, and his Nazi, and this and that and this and that. I want to tell you, this influence is direct correlation from what the woke is preaching right now. This is direct influence from people like AOC, direct influence from people like Black Lives Matter, direct influence from people like Antifa, and it's a blend of all those things. So don't let them off the hook when it comes to that. This guy is certainly a crazy leftist. And as we have seen throughout history, it is the crazy leftists that normally do this type of shit. They're the ones that do a lot of these mass shootings. They're the ones that do all this type of stuff. And hint, hint, nod, nod. You look at most atrocities in human history, especially the biggest ones where death counts are in the millions upon millions. It's leftist. It's leftist. So moving on from that, because I can only handle so much insanity. There's another piece that I want you guys just to go look out for because it is a little alarming. This piece was written yesterday, the 15th. Or no, today's the 15th. I think it was written today, actually, not yesterday. Where you at? It's from The Guardian. Why does The Guardian hide their dates? Let's see. It was written today, actually, by Melody Schreiber. And the title is U.S. could loosen some restrictions on prescribing opioids. Now, it is framed in the article that the reasoning why the rise in illegal fentanyl and other things and deaths and that are because opioid restrictions are so tough, where doctors won't provide opiates for someone who looks like they have drug-seeking behavior. I mean, that's kind of do no harm. That really is there. And I get it. There are some people who actually live with chronic pain that could use opioids to manage their pain, but doctors are trained to see drug-seeking behavior. And it's basically that they have been given the green light to deny people that have fit this bill. Now, I don't know what should be done after. I don't think that denying people who claim to be in chronic pain or have drug-seeking behavior and just letting them go back on the streets is the answer. Because if that happens, that's exactly why they go to the illegal drugs. I get that. I feel like if a doctor sees somebody with drug-seeking behavior, they should be allowed to then refer them to go to the drug clinic and get some help because they are addicted. But the answer here is that they might loosen some to allow people to be getting larger doses, more frequent doses, longer-term doses. There's got to be a happy medium. And one guy concludes it in the article here. Let me see what he says. I forget. Oh, people with chronic pain can manage their lives fine on opioid. That's fine. But what we don't want is a 19-year-old who blew out his knee in football practice getting 90 days worth of prescription medication. And bravo. I agree to that. There's got to be some happy medium and there's got to be less ties from big pharma to certain things going on and certain sales. And I can't confirm anything, but it's always spoken about, well, that doctor has to get a kickback from this company because all they do is prescribe this and this and this, when other doctors prescribe that, and that. It could just be a difference in preference or medical practice that happens, but there also could be some shady shit where they are getting a kickback if they know somebody or they've made a deal with a certain company to prescribe this one first, which I think is against the law. But since when has things being against the law ever stopped anybody? So yeah, this is, to me, it could go either way. I don't like the blaming of more rules and giving doctors the ability to see people drug seeking and stop them from attaining these drugs, because these drugs are deadly. These addictions are deadly. And normally continuing to be on these addictions of opioids and keep on getting them to do one of two things. They can either OD on the opioid or not get the high they want and go to the fentanyl anyway. So, and they also talk about that places don't have enough, naloxone, whatever it is that brings people back from the dead if they overdose. I mean, it's a great thing, I guess. I'm not a fan of it, to be quite honest. I know maybe it's heartless. But if you OD and they come in and they revive you, what happens after? I don't think that they're forced to go to a drug place. And if they are forced, they serve their time. They're not actually there because they want to be. They get out and they go and they abuse again. I don't think that the way the left looks at this thing, where just allow them to do more of it, allow them to do it cleaner, and it'll be better. I don't agree with that. But then again, I don't know if the super strict, I don't want to put these people in jail for that, but I also don't know if the super strict is right. So I'm kind of on the fence with this one. I don't know what the right answer is. I think a happy medium can be found because opioids, they can be effective in handling pain. But at the same time, I wouldn't mind if they just got the fuck out of our lives in general, because they have caused obscene amounts of harm to people. So I don't know. Go read that article. It is interesting. I don't agree with some of the conclusions, but again, go read it for yourself and see what it says. It's actually a pretty fairly well-written article. And like I said, the conclusion in the end, where there's got to be a happy medium, is kind of where I sit. All right. 2 more quick articles before we get into the nitty-gritty. NPR. always a bastion of, public news here. Not at all acting as state news for the left, but they're fucking state news for the left. Their title here: high numbers of mail ballots are being rejected in the Texas under a new state law, written by someone named Ashley Lopez. She prefaced it right away: controversial new voting law from Texas. And what had happened is a bunch of fucking things got rejected because they didn't match. I'm sorry. They're mad about this. They're saying that it's going to hurt them. And how are we going to ask elderly people who use a certain number back in the day to remember what number they use now in terms of registration? Well, that's not my problem. Again, not my problem. Not my problem. If you can't remember what number you registered with, then that's your fault. That is your fault. And then they're like, oh, maybe they can't get driver's license. Okay, and that narrows it down. They use their social. Like, it's not difficult here. The thing is, these types of articles here are trying to demonize the law instead of demonizing people who can't fucking do something so simple, like remembering what number they registered with. And if you don't remember, find out. That's why there's certain parts of the government that exist. Find out. Get the process going right away to find out what you registered with, or figure out how to update it. There's a part in here that says like, oh, disabled and elderly, having them do a complicated thing like go and update online. I'm sorry. Most of these people still have kids or someone young around and will help them out. They're not helpless themselves. Some of them have too much pride to go do it, and that's their own fucking problem. If they have too much pride to go get help. This here is making sure that every legitimate ballot gets counted. If you can't match up your numbers, if you can't prove that you are who you say you are on a mail-in ballot, then you do not deserve to vote. Bottom line. If you made a mistake, fine. That happens. Vote next time. Figure it out by next time and vote. Or go in and do it. And if you can't go in and do it, then get help from somebody that can help you vote properly. There's a lot of solutions here. None of them are open this up and do a free-for-all. None of them are that the Texas law is mean. No, not one bit. This is the type of articles here that piss me off because they make things seem so much more difficult than it actually is. And that the fact that people are having problems doing it isn't a them problem. It's a law's problem. No, it's these fucking people's problem. It's their problem. So read this article, pretty infuriating. NPR is socialist news. So it's disgusting that any tax money goes to it. And I hate people who are like, oh, well, it's not all funded by our taxes. They get donations. There's still some of my tax money going to these idiots. And they don't represent anything about me. And again, this article was written today as well. So they don't represent anything about me and about half this country. So NPR should be completely and totally defunded and only rely on donors and sponsors, which if they can, good for them. Go continue to be your state news somewhere else, but on a private sector dime. All right. One more article, surprising article. Before we get to the nitty gritty here, an article on Slate, which I never thought I'd be saying this, written by Seaver Wang, is titled What I Wish Nuclear Energy Opponents Understood Will Happen If They Win, a dispatch from a possible 2072. Now, number one, I'll say this. I always hate when they do these future dumb fucking things. Oh, the year is this so-and-so, 20XX or whatever, 2072 here, 2050, 2100, 20, whatever it is. They treat it like a sci-fi thing. And then they give you these hypotheticals, which they have no fucking clue is actually going to happen. It's just as good as me saying tomorrow I'm going to win the lottery. None of it actually makes a difference. So again, I hate this start. This is a stupid start for this guy's article talking about in the future. You don't know what the fuck's going to happen. But I have to say this. Reading the article, I disagree with a lot of the guy on the things about in terms of actual climate going on. There's a lot of people. And again, this is a very controversial topic, not because there is a consensus, but because there isn't a consensus about it. Don't let anyone fool you thinking, well, the science says, and so many scientists say, no, it's not true. There are scientists that push back against this. They're just silenced. They were the original silenced people. You want to talk about the original canceled group? It was scientists that didn't agree with the climate change narrative. That is the original group of canceled individuals. The ones that sat there when Al Gore was like, I have the 2,000 signatures, or whatever he sounds like. And a bunch of them came out and was like, I never agreed to that. Take my signature off of there. And of course, he still gets a tout as 2000 because he doesn't give a fuck because he's a hypocrite and a liar. But there are scientists out there that are like, no, we don't agree with these models. We don't think this is a doomsday scenario. There are them out there. So this isn't a open and shut case per se, but I do have to agree with something on this article that went on here. The article is for nuclear energy, which if you hear David speak, my brother, if you hear me talk about it, we are both proponents of nuclear. If you're serious about the environment, if you're serious about shutting down CO2 levels, if you're serious about all this stuff, switching over from fossil fuels and stupid fucking windmills and solar and hydro, which are unreliable, nuclear is the most reliable. Nuclear is abundant. And they talk about the expense. If it's abundant and it is made wide open, it will be cheaper. If something is easier to access, it will eventually go down. So this talks about all about Russia going and China making a bunch of new reactors, France and the UK turning to it, while idiots like us are getting rid of it. And, they point out the hypocrisy of California getting rid of their nuclear reactors, but, upping on coal and other gas and fossil fuels in order to subsidize, because they know that what they're using in hydro, which is major in California, and a bunch of wind farms and solar cannot do what a nuclear plant or even the fossil fuels can do. If you read between the lines on all this shit, a lot of these environmentalists admit that what they want to happen can't actually work and that they are going to have to rely somewhat on fossil fuels. And he disparages fossil fuels up and down here, calling them dirty, calling them this, calling them that. Again, I disagree with a lot of the nonsense that he outputs, but he does make points about how there's activist organizations that have been stopping, this has been known, stopping places like Africa and Asia from advancing. If they wanted to use nuclear, if governments wanted to help them out using nuclear, they would go to war against them. And the worst and biggest impediment to Africa and poor nations advancing is the United States and the West. We are the biggest problem. And it's not because we're greedy capitalists or we're free marketers. It's because our environmentalists are fucking assholes. And they always are like, oh no, a developed Africa would add so much here. And we can't have more than this going on because it would make the doomsday clock move up. And so we possibly can't develop. And if we're going to develop, we need to make sure that we have the clean technology there and they can only develop clean. And there they go. And they never actually help because they also know that their clean technology can't do shit. You're telling me if solar can work anywhere, it can work in Africa. There's a shit ton of sunlight there. And if solar doesn't work there beautifully, like, why don't any of these places put up a bunch of money and throw out a gigantic fucking solar farm all across parts of Africa to power them, get them on their feet, and eventually they could pay it all back? Why hasn't that happened? Because it doesn't work. That's why. Because it doesn't work. So I like this article for its support of nuclear. I don't like it in its support of the wacko climate change shit about the CO2 levels, but take the good with the bad. I will agree with Seaver Wong about nuclear. We are there. I will go to war with you on that, brother. Let's get nuclear going. It is a lot safer than people say. There's a lot of myths out there about it. So let's get it going. I'm with you on that. So let's just go with what we agree with here, Seaver. We agree on that. All right, let's get into the meat and potatoes. I spent a bunch of time there, but let's get going on what I want to do today. This is an article from CNN. It's from the CNN Politics. It's from The Point, where Chris Cillizza, who I think I've done one before, he's a moron. Chris Cillizza is an idiot. Let's just get that right out there. He's an editor at large at CNN. It just goes to show what CNN is. And I'm doing this article to show just how crazy these people are. So let's talk about this. Donald Trump's financial and legal problems just got a lot worse. Pretty simple there. And if you read that title, you're just like, shit, more, Trump's in trouble, right? If you're an idiot. Yeah, let's go. On Monday, Donald Trump's longtime accountants made a very important announcement. They no longer stood behind a decade of the former president's financial information and would no longer be working for him. Why is this such a big deal? Well, the language from Mazars, the accounting firm, masked it a bit. So let me translate. What they are saying is that neither Trump nor anyone who interacts with him should rely on their assessments of his relative financial health over the past decade. So let me stop right there. When did he say what the Mazars said? He lets you click on the announcement if you want to read it, and you can open it up here. And it's another article from CNN, of course, and he does get to kind of what they say towards the bottom. And, this article here links to it. They talk about it. Of course, they give their own political spin on it. So he's connecting to Kara Scannell's article, if you want to read it. But he doesn't say it here. He relies on you to go do it. So I guess it's kind of a double-edged sword, right? Conservatives say do your own research all the time. So he's kind of acting like a conservative here. He wants you to do your own research. But his translation, probably not right, because he's an idiot. So that annoys me where he's like, let me translate for you because, you're too fucking stupid if you're reading this to understand what an announcement says. That's what the people like him think of you. So what they're saying is neither Trump nor anyone who interacts with him should rely on their assessment of his relative financial health over the past decade. I guess let's keep going. The firm is, in effect, jumping off of what looks like a sinking ship. And they are doing so, at least partially, because of information that has come out to light as part of an ongoing investigation by New York Attorney General Letitia James. So let me go there. Letitia James is like the pit bull of the friggin' left right now, going after Cuomo, now going after Trump. I don't know what she's after. It's looking like, first I thought her aspirations were governor in New York. She pulled out of that. She suspended her campaign already. I think she's going for something more high profile. She's going after the former president and kind of the boogeyman of the left lately. If she can take down Donald Trump, that would skyrocket her star. And she can kind of name what she wants to do and what she wants to be, whether it's a cabinet member, whether it's a presidential run. Her feathers in her cap would be massive because she can turn around and then campaign and say, listen, I got the scum out of the left in Andrew Cuomo. I worked for him. I knew he's a dirtbag the whole time. I got him out. And I got that asshole Donald Trump, former president, who nobody liked. And, I got rid of two of the baddest people in the United States. Vote for me because I am actually someone that cleans things up. That would be a strong campaign. It's not right on, Trump's part, but it would be a strong campaign. So if she's able to pull this off, Letitia James is somebody to watch, and watch her for a reason, because look her up. She's a crazy woke leftist. So she would be an absolute fucking psycho that runs the United States. We don't want her. But I am acknowledging that if she's able to do these things, she's able to take down Trump, it would be huge for her. Let's go on. We have come to this conclusion based in part of the filings made by the New York Attorney General on January 18th, 2022, our own investigation, and information received from internal and external sources. Mazars wrote in a letter to the Trump Organization chief legal officer, advising them to no longer rely on financial statements ending in June 2011 through June 2020. So let's read that and actually translate it. We came to that conclusion based off the filings of the Attorney General. AKA, we're doing a CYA. This is a cover our own ass thing here. We know when she's looking. We know the scope of when she's looking. So we're going to pull off our part of it because just in case shit hits the fan, we don't want her looking into us. That's what that says to me. We don't want her looking more into us and our practices and what we do. Because this, to me, I don't know how that reflects necessarily on Trump. Obviously, Trump is going through the investigation with Letitia James, but there's been no actual accusations from Letitia James. This is just a filing, and they're pulling out as a CYA. That's what this looks like to me. Cover your own ass. Let's keep going. We know that James is looking into allegations that Trump's organization over and undervalued assets in order to win favorable terms on loans and the like. In a court filing in January, James's office suggested it had come across information indicating that the Trump organization used fraudulent or misleading asset valuations to obtain a host of economic benefits, including loans, insurance coverages, and tax deductions. So I'm going to go right there. That's going to be extremely difficult for them to prove unless they have things verifiable in writing saying this is what we're doing, essentially, because that is a very difficult thing to prove there. They're working off allegations that they overvalued and undervalued assets and things like that in order to win favorable terms, which I'm not a businessman, but I got to imagine in the city, especially the city where everything's fucking skyrocketing, there's common practice in kind of skating as close to the legal line as you can in order to get things done and get things done at cost, if not under cost. So thinking that he maybe did some stuff that was near the line is not surprising. He was working in the city his whole life and making a lot of money doing it. But just the things that they say there, it's extremely difficult for them to prove. They have to have hard, concrete stuff. So obviously launch the investigation. But a person like Letitia James, people on the left know that just doing this is going to be enough to stir up articles like this bullshit. Let's keep going here. The decision by Mazars appears to be an attempt to protect itself from possible legal entanglements relating to Trump. Their desire to wash their hands fully of Trump come across as bluntly in part of the statement, in this part of the statement. While we have not concluded that the various financial statements as a whole contain material discrepancies based upon the totality of the circumstances, we believe our advice to you to no longer rely upon those financial statements is appropriate. And here's Mr. Cillizza and his intelligence giving you what you need to know because you're a dumb rustic. In essence, we haven't found any specific examples of over or undervaluation, he puts in parentheses, yet. But we believe James and want to get as far away from any blame in this situation as humanly possible. And we want everyone who relied on the financial statements provided by our firm to know that they should stop doing that. So again, his interpretation is wrong and stupid and slanted because Chris Cillizza works for, is a person that is a propagandist. He works for a propaganda arm in CNN, and they are not very good. And when they clean up, if they ever want to clean up and go back to objective journalism, he's one of the people who needs to get the fuck out because he sucks. But his translation over here, let's go back to the top here, protecting itself from legal entanglements relating to Trump. Yes, that is true. This is a cover your own ass. That's all it is, that they don't want to be involved in the actual investigation. We are washing our hands of the things that we told worth money, this and that, because we don't want Letitia James to look into us. That's what that screams. And then even in the statement he takes, they haven't concluded that the various financial statements as a whole contain material discrepancies based upon totality of circumstances. We believe it's our advice you no longer rely on those financial statements is appropriate. Again, we don't want Donald Trump to be able to come out and say, well, Mazars said this in the court of law. That is all it is, because they don't want people looking into them. They don't want people looking into them. I don't know if we're going to find out more about Mazars. And I don't know if they would be dragged into anything anyway because they were involved. But this is a first step to say, listen, plausible deniability. We said that all the things we put out there could be false based on what Letitia James said. Now, again, they said they did their own internal investigation. That own internal investigation probably was like a boardroom sitting there going, we don't want to get involved in this. Letitia James is really good at her job. She took down Cuomo. Let's get out of here. That's all it is. Now, here's where the insanity comes in. Because Trump derangement syndrome is real. Listen to all this and tell me if it sounds like Trump is a terrible guy or these people are fucking insane. Let's go. The decision by Mazars further isolates Trump as he faces a series of legal problems. Consider that in addition to James's investigation, Trump faces the following. 1, the new Manhattan district attorney told CNN in December that he plans to focus on the high-profile probe into Trump's business practices and may expand the investigation team, as CNN's Kara Scannell reported at the time. The investigation, which has been underway for several years, appears to be coming to a head with prosecutors focusing on the accuracy of the Trump organization's financial statements when seeking financing. People familiar with the matter have told CNN. So that last part is bullshit. Whenever somebody puts people familiar with the matter, blah, 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 I know they're supposed to protect sources, but I can't believe any of these places now when they do that. That just means I made that up or somebody in the office said it and I'm using them. So no, don't believe any of that nonsense. But number one, just look at this. This is a new DA that ran his campaign basically as he was coming in saying he's going to go after Trump because it's been going on and he's going to try and tie the knots. Everyone knows that if they can get Trump on something, it makes their name and their credibility go so much higher. But that's just one. Here's number 2. E. Jean Carroll is pursuing a defamation lawsuit in regards to her allegation that Trump raped her in the 1990s. He has denied her rape allegation. The case is still being litigated. In December, a 3-judge federal appeals court questioned lawyers for both Carroll and Trump. So as a legal issue that's going on, he has denied it. Innocent until proven guilty, unlike people like to believe. So I'm not saying I don't believe Miss Carroll, but Trump's innocent until you get him. So there you go. 3, Mary Trump, the niece of the former president and the author of the scathing book, Too Much and Never Enough, How My Family Created the World's Most Dangerous Man, sued Trump in 2020, alleging that he, his sister, and his late brother had committed fraud to keep her from getting her fair share of the estate of Trump's father, Fred Sr. In January, a New York state judge heard Trump's request to dismiss the case. So Mary Trump, it depends on which side of the aisle you're on. If you're on the left, you love her because she's a Trump going against the Trumps. If you're on the right, you see her for what she is. She is a grifter trying to use her uncle's name in order to make a lot of money. And she has. She made money off the books. She's a regular person to go. Anyone, if they need a person to go on to any of the networks to knock Trump, it's her, because apparently she has family inside when she's been estranged from the family. She's a fucking asshole for a long time. And again, she's suing as a granddaughter or grandniece. I don't even know. Yeah, I guess she'd be a granddaughter, as a granddaughter, to get her a piece of the pie from Trump's dad. Come on now. I don't know. Mary Trump has no credibility. And if you think she does, then you're wrong about most things probably in life. Let's keep going. Several Democratic lawmakers and police officers are suing Trump for his alleged role in the insurrection of January 6, 2021, and a House Select Committee continues to look into Trump's actions tied to that day. So again, lawmakers suing him, not a surprise. Police officers, whatever, don't always back the blue. Some blue are fucking idiots. And his alleged role in the insurrection. It wasn't an insurrection, so number 4 is already done. And anyone that calls it an insurrection automatically loses credibility. It was not an insurrection. Keep going. So we're at number 5 here. In Georgia, Fulton County District Attorney Fannie Willis is looking into Trump's attempts to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election in the state. This is a criminal investigation. We're not playing a game. We're not here playing a game, Willis told CNN recently. I plan to use the power of the law. We are all citizens. So yeah, another DA going to try and make a name out for Trump's name, trying to make their cut their teeth all to Trump's name. Again, anyone that can get something to stick to him, even if it's not really that big of a deal and he doesn't serve anything, or he really only gets like a fine, they get a big feather in their cap in the Democratic Party. So again, trying to overturn the election and this and that. And we've seen all the nonsense about Georgia. Let's keep going. We're on number 6 now. The Justice Department is looking into a scheme to seat fake electors favorable to Trump in the aftermath of the 2020 election. Michigan Attorney General Dana Nessel, a Democrat, has noted that forgeries of public records and election records carry with them up to 2 decades in jail, according to state law. Nessel referred the investigation to the DOJ. So I admit I've seen very little about this. I've glanced at an article. I don't know much. What I do know, what I find funny, is that whenever things go on in favor, something like this or something fraudulent for a liberal, they never had they have no know-how. They cannot possibly know what goes on for their underlings. They're at the top. They can't know what the staffers do. But some randos in Michigan do shit like this, and automatically it's got to carry to Trump. Don't ever forget what's settled there all the time. Don't ever forget. These randos in Michigan did what they had to do. They might be crazy. They probably were trying to fuck the election over and get Trump in. I'm not trying to deny that. There's insane people that like Donald Trump. There's insane people like everybody. But what does this have to do with Trump? And it benefited him. But what does that have to do with Trump? Unless there is things where they can tie Donald Trump himself directing these people to do it, it's bullshit. But let's keep going. Number 7. Former Trump lawyer Michael Cohen is suing Trump, alleged that the former president had put him in jail to keep him from promoting his book, which took him a decidedly dim view of the former president. That is just nonsense. Michael Cohen's a scumbag. We know he's a scumbag. And to even include that lawsuit in there is hilarious because Michael Cohen's going to lose, and we know he's going to lose. So let's look at that. That is 8 things going on against Trump right now. This looks like an insane, obsessed group of people that are doing everything they can because they are scared fucking shitless of Donald Trump getting to become president again. They are doing a full-scale assault to legally try and keep him from running for office. They're throwing everything at the wall and hoping something sticks. That's what this is. This isn't that he's such a terrible guy and he did this all, because honestly, if he did this now, he's probably been doing shit like this his whole entire life. And he has to be the greatest criminal kingpin of all time in order to escape jail this whole time when all of this shit has been going on. The man's almost 80. He's been, what is he? He's going to be, he's 74. He's in mid 70s. He's been a businessman since he was like in his mid 20s, 30s. He's been doing this shit for over 40 years. 40 years. You're telling me none of this would have come up already? Just like he's such a raging racist, all of a sudden when an R gets attached to his name and now he's a giant Nazi, All of a sudden, when the R gets attached to his name, forget about the award he won in the NAACP or the fact that he, is really cool and put on his cabinet a Jewish guy who he let marry his daughter. Like, come on, these people are fucking insane. This is what a crazy group of people does. There's 8 different things that they named here to try and make it seem like Trump's such a terrible guy. You shouldn't like him. All this says to me, this is obsessive. This is obsessive stuff. This is TDS. We are scared of Trump and we need to figure out a way to get him out in any way possible. So let's keep going. I'm going to finish off the last 2 little paragraphs here. In addition to all this, there are an ongoing question surrounding 15 boxes of White House material that the National Archives had to take back from Trump, who had transported the documents from Mar-a-Lago. The legal wall. Oh, no, I won't end up with that. I'm just going to say right here, preface. They were notes, they were magazines, they were newspaper snippets, apparently, in the 15 boxes. They handed them right over. It's not like Trump was trying to steal shit that is of national security. The letters were from foreign leaders. Trump, knowing Trump, he's probably like, these are fucking cool. I want these. They're mine. Took them back to them. They're going back to the archives. That is not a big deal. I know the archives are launching an investigation. Not a big deal. Stop it. Let's read this last doozy because, Chris Cillizza knows how to close these things out. He's such a professional. The legal walls continue to close in on Trump and serve as a reminder that the biggest impediment to Trump running again for president in 2024 is legal, not political. No. It is political. It's all political. These are all political hit jobs. So it is all political. They're trying to make it legal so that they can say, listen, he can't run for president just because he's a bad guy. Look at him. He's in trouble. He's in jail. He can't run. We can't have a felon running our country. It's in the law. He can't do it. Law. Too bad. So sad. Sorry, guys. So, yeah, I read this just to prove and point to the insanity of the left right now. And, again, Donald Trump has beaten every single allegation against him. I know morons are going to point to Mueller saying he would have prosecuted if he could in a report. Number one, that was outside of his boundaries to even include that. He wasn't supposed to be telling a fucking story. He was supposed to be saying what his investigation said. Number one. Number two, not true. And where is he now? Number one. Number two, where are they now? Where are they now? That's the biggest question with the Mueller report. Everyone's like, oh, if he wasn't president, then Mueller would have came out and done it. Where's Robert Mueller now? Why isn't he sitting there working with someone in the federal government, working with the attorney general to now go through with the stuff that he said he would have indicted for? Where is he? He was just a special investigator. It's not like there's any double jeopardy. You want to know why? Because that was fairy tale. That was fucking fairy tale. Put in there because Mueller found nothing and he wanted to make it seem like he maybe found something, but because of the stupid tradition, shucks, I just couldn't do it. I can't buck tradition. So, yeah, keep your ears perked up to the bullshit. It's everywhere. This article's full of it because Chris Cillizza is one of the worst that there is. And yeah, that's it for today. So again, this isn't a pro-Trump piece because I'm not going to lie. I'm still angry at Donald Trump. I'll go into that maybe another time, but this is just to show you that these people are absolutely insane. And they know that it will be extremely difficult to beat him again in 2024 because of how terrible Joe Biden is doing, how terrible the economy is doing, how terrible their response to COVID-19 is, how terrible Afghanistan was, how terrible their foreign policy is in general, how terrible their energy policy is in the United States. They are just bad. And I say they because it's not Joe Biden. His cabinet's running the show. Barry O is still in Washington. You think he's not in fucking close communications, if not in very direct communications with everything going on? The only president in the history of the country to not leave Washington, D.C. directly after his presidency got done? Telling me that's not true. And he still has his residency there. He's still buying houses on coast, even though global warming's the thing. But he still has his residency in D.C. Only president ever to do it. Is it a conspiracy theory? Fuck yeah. But does it have legs? Absolutely. All the people in the White House are former Obama people. They're really not Biden originals. You would think a guy that was in politics for 40 years would have people himself that he trusts that he wanted to bring in, not somebody who was a junior senator a few years before becoming president and all of his people. You wouldn't keep the same people if you were such a well-liked guy for 40 years. No. Nope. Instead, he brought back Obama's people. So I digress. We're going to end off there. As always, thank you so much for listening, getting to this point. If you like what you hear, Give it a like, share, follow, subscribe, rate me 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. And as always, spread the word of mouth. For social media, go search The Alex Cuesta Show. You'll find it anywhere you can find a podcast. That is where we are. So I appreciate everyone for listening. I will talk to everybody tomorrow. Have a good one.